How happy the soldier who lives on his pay and spends half a crown out of sixpence a day, yet fears neither justices, warrants, nor bums, but pays all his debts with a roll of his drums, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow-dow, and he pays all his debts with a roll of his drums. He cares not a monody how the world goes. His king finds his quarters, his money and clothes. He laughs at all sorrow whenever it comes, and he rattles away with a roll of his drums, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow-dow, and he pays all his debts with a roll of his drums. The drum is his glory, his joy, his delight. It leads him to pleasure as well as to fight. No girl when she hears it, though ever so glum, but packs up her tatters and follows the drum, with a rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow, rowdy-dow-dow, and packs up her tatters and follows the drum.
Get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boy's in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there, over there, over there. Send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare.
Baby, take control now. It's the same old theme, since 9.
Fucking explain to me. Here you go. The guy's getting off the rocket ship. Who the fuck is filming him? Who's filming him?
A guy?
How'd the fucking guy get up there if this is the first guy supposed to be on the fucking moon? A different rocket ship?
I don't know.
So they sent the rocket ship?
Oh, my love, my...
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that.
What I call nastiness.
I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
I remember that with that smoke. We are still here!
We have to say yes to social justice.
No, it's a big club, and you ain't in it.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Dave is here, I swear. Welcome to the Thursday episode, because we're keeping you guessing these last couple weeks. But Dave is here, everybody. Fear not. We'll get to him in just a moment. But welcome to the show. We've got a lot to get to. Actually, we don't have a ton to get to. We're really focusing in today on one thing very in particular, and it might be the same thing that everybody else is talking about right now, but maybe it's because it's, a bit of a big deal. This debate between the douche and the Turd-Sandwich. Dave. What's up, Dave? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. I thought we were going to talk about 9/11 truth today. You want to talk about presidential debates? All right.
That's old news, man. I mean, if you don't know by now about 9/11 being an inside job, then it's kind of on you.
I'm just not over it. I'm just still not over it. That's why I'm still bitter.
Yeah. Did you do anything fun yesterday to celebrate? Have barbecue with the family? Anything?
No, we didn't do any of that. Though I did go to bed kind of feeling like it was Christmas Eve. Couldn't wait to drop those memes. But no, this was I know
it's like adult Christmas. Like adults don't get Christmas gifts, so when we get any sort of win, like, hey, tomorrow's the day that you get to drop all that massive folder of 150 9/11 memes, you get to do that tomorrow. That's it's the little things in life, in adulthood.
Dude, I'm telling you. It is, and it's I always say, if they can take our ability to laugh, then they win. And it's still the defining moment or event of my life. I don't know, maybe COVID can challenge it, but
sure.
They kind of laid the
January 6th
groundwork
for me.
For the whole for the whole century, man. So much treasure, so much blood, so much potential wasted because of these people. So it's a good day to remind yourself of why you hate these people so much.
Hashtag never forget how much you hate these people. Now, speaking of people you hate, go join the Downers Club and be one of these people. People like Drugs for Robots, welcome. Autumn Jacobs, Pangea, Sean Van Beaverhout, Trashman, Scott, Meredith, Kimberly, Britt, Zenger, JC, Silas, Bonnie, Perry, Adam, Donald, Matthew, Leah, Osmataz, Danielle, Stoney, Keith, Hefflumps, SDG, Level 0, Rick Duran, Javari, Craig DaCosta, Ryan, Tim, Howie, Jomina? I feel like there's like one or two really hard names to pronounce that get the shaft every single week because I just don't see you. It's probably because of the racism. But if you want to get your name on that list and have it read incorrectly someday, go on over to patreon.com/The System Is Down, where you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly. That's right, weekly content. Probably today, if we get to it. We'll see how this goes. But the idea is to do some of that today. And even if you don't get that, you'll get ad-free versions of the show. You'll get our entire backlog of bonus content that'll take you months upon years upon lifetimes to catch up on, and you'll be supporting this show. So do that at patreon.com/The System's Down, and I will love you forever, or at least until you cancel your subscription. Now, that's that. Okay, today we are talking about this, the debate. If you haven't heard, Donald Trump did another debate, and Kamala Harris did her first debate, and these two just the brightest amongst us, obviously. The top cream of the crop in our country. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump met in person for the first time. Dave, I assume you caught the debate. Did you catch the whole thing?
Whole thing. Yes.
You got any precursor thoughts on, I don't know, who do you think won? I've heard a lot of back and forth. Just simply, who do you think won?
That's what I was going to start with. We'll start at the end, and then I can work back if you want. But I think Kamala Harris won that debate.
I've heard people say that. I disagree, but I did rewatch it yesterday. I watched it, I don't know what you and Colleen do for your date nights, but me and Kate sit down and watch debates, or tonight we're going to Am I a Racist? It's not because we support Matt Walsh or anything. It's because we want to genuinely find out whether or not we are. But yes, our date night on Tuesday was debate night, and I have watched it a full time through since then and listened to a lot of people's thoughts on it, and I hear a lot of people saying that they think Kamala Harris won. I think even Dave Smith said he thinks Kamala Harris won. Do you want to give a little bit of thoughts on that? Obviously we'll get into the nitty gritty, but overall.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to read this tweet that I put out, and then you can tell me what you think about it. I said, I obviously prefer Trump to Harris, but I think that she won the debate. If it was held on X, moderated by a couple of really cool independent journalists, then Trump would have won. But it wasn't. It was on Disney-owned ABC News, and the corporate press stooges held her hand throughout the entire thing. Kamala baited Trump numerous times. He took the bait each time. Delving into the Haitian invasion with the goose stuff, the cat stuff, was painful to listen to. I said, the regime knows their audience. Her carefully crafted and rehearsed lines, though inauthentic and predictable, are familiar to people who thrive in a sterile human resources kind of environment. And that's an ever-growing voter base in America. So I think that on the corporate news, as far as the people, the normies who watch that show, and dude, most people watch the debate, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. They're not, political junkies like us. So I think that she took the win from the night.
I feel like Donald Trump, do you think that he did better than he did against Joe Biden? Because I felt like the problem with Joe Biden is that he didn't get spicy at all. And he had, for all the things that he could have hammered Kamala Harris on, he could have done the same to Joe Biden much more easily. But I feel like he got a little bit more aggressive, which I certainly appreciated. And I will say, and Kate can verify, that for all of my issues with Trump, and they're still there, the night of the debate, I was like, I'm the closest I've been. Like, he's getting me closer, just because, yes, I know it was there, and we'll get into, it was a lot of word salad from Donald Trump too, even if I feel like these are two empty shells of politicians that are just being fed information, and they're regurgitating it to the best of their ability. And that's what the debate was. Like, Donald Trump's got this thing and that thing and that thing that he's trying to spit out there, but he's not doing it in a very coherent manner. But he is still addressing better things than what Kamala Harris is addressing, because Kamala Harris, as we'll get into, addressed very little. It was more just, he's a liar, he's a jerk face, and you can't trust anything this guy says. She also set up a couple traps for Donald Trump that he walked right into, and it could have been better. And I think everybody's saying that she won. I don't know. If I was watching this just as a common person, I saw like Tim was saying something about like, there's nobody who went into this undecided and then decided based off of this. I think generally that's true, but I think you do have the very small percentage of people like me who are like, just give me something to vote for, Donald. Just do something that isn't cringy or just watered down. He did that a little bit, and I'm the closest that I've been, I will say. And I don't know who won, because I think that everybody who was supporting Trump over Kamala Harris is still supporting Trump over Kamala Harris, and everybody who is supporting Kamala Harris over Trump is still supporting Kamala Harris over Trump. I think that this debate had probably very little to do with making up anybody's mind. Do you agree, Dave?
I don't know, man. I think that most people, if you're solid in the camp, like, you got your mind made up. But I think the stuff that you and I might regard as like red meat, like when he gave her the, listen, I'm talking. Does that sound familiar? Like, I was like, I yelled, I stood up, I'm like, babe, did you fucking hear that? This is great. Yeah. But I do not think that that's the kind of stuff that wins over people that might be teetering on the line. That's the kind of stuff that most Americans go, oh, that's not professionalism, like the dignity
it's the type
of the
stuff
office.
That makes angry radicals like myself and Nick Fuentes, not that we're in the same camp necessarily, but I saw Nick Fuentes was even like, Trump is back, baby. It's like, all I wanted was a little bit of energy from the guy, and we got a little bit of energy. It wasn't nearly as directed as it could or should have been, and there are definitely easier ways to hit Kamala Harris than what he did, but
Nick Fuentes, just like a queef in the wind. Oh, he's back. Bro, I'll say that the reason I brought up the goose and the cat stuff out of Springfield, Ohio, is because, like, this is the kind of example, and I was talking about our own bubbles and stuff. Like, Tim Pool, everybody on Twitter, we know about this stuff. It's like the topic of the day. But they're not talking about that on ABC News. They're not talking about that.
So for Trump to just be like, they're eating dogs, like, your common person's going to be like, what are you talking about?
And while she's giving him like this guy's crazy. She knows too. She knows it's true. Yep. But like, she got to be like the kind of this crazy person talking about. Right. And I think that don't underestimate that group, that silent majority in America. I think there's a lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we will get deeper. Obviously, we will get into all the things. We'll break it down for you in case you missed it, or even if you watched it. I wouldn't imagine that anybody who wasn't interested in watching the debate is watching this, so we'll give you the recap from our perspective, and we'll discuss. But before we do that, we got a couple things leading up to it that I thought were worth note that did not make the cut yet last week, but this is the latest from Kamala Harris and her endorsements.
Actually, I'm honored to have their endorsement, and I think that what they both, as leaders who are well respected, are making an important statement that it's okay, and if not important, to put country above party. And I'm honored to have their support, and I think it's an important statement right now. A lot of what I think is happening, and I was just talking with some folks here in Pittsburgh about it, is that people are exhausted about the division and the attempts to kind of divide us as Americans. And
she had nothing to do with that. That was all Trump, that division.
Them stepping up to make this public statement, I think, is courageous, but also for people like the folks I was just talking with, it really reinforces for them that we love our country and we have more in common than what separates us.
Wow. So, Dick Cheney, his endorsement of Kamala Harris is what proves that we have more in common as just United States citizens. We have more in common, and it shows because the people who vehemently push for war, the neocons like Dick Cheney, are willing to support Kamala Harris, who is, anti-war, wink, wink, we'll say. Like, the things that unite us are more important than the things that divide us. Yes, unless the things that unite you are blowing up brown kids. That's a nice... Just the way that they spin it into a win. Like, anybody who knows Dick Cheney supporting Kamala Harris. I don't know. I saw even Harry Sisson was like, wow, this is amazing. It's like, bro, you're the party of Dick Cheney now. Like, that would, if Dick Cheney supported Trump, it would be the ultimate evil, and everybody would remember all of Dick Cheney's evils. But because he's supporting our gal, he's one of the good ones. I also saw Toad's post. I thought it was great. I don't know if you saw it. He posted about Green Day. Like, they wrote an entire album about the Bush administration and being anti that, like the American Idiot. It was a fucking musical. It was made into a Broadway musical also. Whole thing was about being anti-Bushes and Cheneys, and now they're like, yay, we're the party of the Cheneys, because, that's how cults work. Any thoughts, Dave?
I like it's almost like the inversion of what we're kind of doing. Like, it's coalition work, right? Like, hey,
right.
Man, like, reach across the aisle. It's just like, it's the inversion.
I will ally with anybody on the basis of evil, but nobody on the basis of good.
Right. And another thing that just kind of stuck out to me during the debate, and I was trying to just view this as through clear lenses. I obviously have preference towards Trump, but like, I'm just thinking about your average voter, your average person of average intelligence who's watching this. I'm like, look, can we all agree that, okay, he might not be prepared for this. She looks like she studied hard for the big test. But can we agree that he is authentic? He is himself, and she is projecting what she thinks that you want her to sound like?
To some degree, he is too, but he's doing it in a more authentic way, at least. Like, my takeaway after the second watch was like, Trump looks like... if I were just coming into this blind and didn't know these people from Adam, which I can't imagine that too many people are in that camp at this point, but if I was coming into this blind and I saw this guy and her, I'd be like, he seems like an angry old man who's very passionate about his anger. She seems like a smarmy, know-it-all bitch, and maybe that's a sexist thing or whatever. But her standing there, and again, we're gonna break this all down before we get to the 25 clips that I have pulled up here. But yeah, her standing there with like her hand on her chin and laughing and stuff while he's making points about things that whether you agree with his points or not, it seems just from body language, it's like, this is a guy who's pissed off about the way things are going. So if you're just somebody coming in blind and taking these people on face value, it's like, that guy seems like he cares. That person seems like they're trying to convince me that everything's okay. It just so happens that that person's still in the White House right now. But yeah.
And bro, I saw a guy. There is no news, only spin, right? So the left would spin that as, oh, you're always so negative, so doom and gloom. We're about joy over here. Like, it's just the inverse. You can just spin it a different way.
Sure. We're about joy while the economy is in shambles under my administration. We're just about joy. That's the problem. We haven't been happy enough. Yes, and it's it's a cause and effect sort of thing, doll. We'll be happier when you make the economy suck less. But okay, there's another thing that's going around. This you've seen I imagine the earpiece conspiracy that Kamala Harris's earrings were in fact earpieces that were feeding her information. And you know me, you know that I don't even necessarily know the shape of the earth, and also I'm not sold for or against Donald Trump, and I trust nobody ever. I'll also be honest and say that I'm not buying this yet, and I am open to somebody giving me information that would convince me, but I am not buying this conspiracy theory either. It's kind of like the when Joe Biden first came out and they were like, oh, he's on a green screen because look at how the mic goes. If I can find information, which we broke down and did at the time, on how this makes sense outside of a green screen, then I'm all for it. But this, as far as I can tell, is just these earrings that she was wearing kind of look like these.
If you thought earrings were merely a fashion statement, think again. Nova's H1 audio earrings is the world's first wireless earphones made with real pearls. Unlike conventional earrings, these earrings are placed
So when you inevitably lose them, it'll cost you way more to replace them.
The earlobes, the pearl, straight into your ear canal. This directional sound technology can avoid sound leakage and keep conversations and music private and secure.
Like I don't fuck with you. You little stupid ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you.
So that's basically the gist of the theory there. Yeah, as you can see, her earrings do kind of look like that. Now these have the two lines. Many people, including my wife, have pointed out that Tiffany makes earrings like this. But, yeah, these look bulkier when they're in and not quite the same on the wire, I don't feel like. But I could be wrong. What do you think, Dave? These just look more like a pearl on an earring than these do. These look like a pearl that was, like, worked into a piece of technology.
Yeah. I haven't seen enough evidence, and I'll just say it kind of reminds me just a little bit of the cat and the goose stuff. It's like the more time we spend talking about this might when we talk about it, it might make her look better to her people or the people in the middle. So I just worry about that kind of stuff because there's so much to talk about. She's so
QAnon bait. It's QAnon bait.
Right. Keeps you over here when there are so many legitimate grievances regarding Kamala Harris.
Now, the cat stuff in Springfield, I feel like there's been a lot more examples of that. However, Donald Trump's response about it, we'll save because we're definitely going to get into that. But, yeah. So on this earring thing, do you think do we need to go any further for now? Or, I don't know. Because, like, yeah, there might be better technology than Bluetooth that Kamala Harris has access to. But if it is just these Bluetooth earrings, I think people looked up, if they are the Bluetooth earrings that people are saying that they are, the range is like 30 feet, which means that somebody would have to be under the stage or backstage or in the non-existent audience in order to do it and secretly be whispering her. I think it's infinitely more plausible that she was given, because she did okay. She did fine. I think it's more likely that she was given to some degree the questions in advance, and she had debate prep for the entire month before. She did one interview in the month before. She's probably been working her ass off for this moment, and credit where it's due, she did not fall on her face nearly as hard as we expected she would. But she also did talk in circles and use 4 words in places where there should be only one, and had a lot of word salad and said a lot of nothing. But your common person doesn't necessarily realize that she was saying nothing. They just know that she was happy while she was saying nothing. But we are going to get into it now. Let's jump into the debate itself, and starting just from the top, right out the gate, the introduction I found to be awkward as hell. Let's watch.
Audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening.
So they must have had an actual coin toss because it worked in Donald Trump's favor to where he had the closing statement. I'm kind of surprised they even had a real coin toss, or it seems strange to me that they do a coin toss at all, but I guess it's how you do these things. But yeah, we're going into this with all of Joe Biden's pre-existing terms and everything. They're all just going along with it. You're right that Donald Trump should have pushed for this being on some network that isn't the opposition's endorsing network. But let's see if it works in his favor.
President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the...
Oh, that's another thing. Kamala Harris selected the podium to the right. Kamala Harris selected the podium that is clearly smaller than Donald Trump's podium. She just chose it. How about that? And I've heard rumor that that is what happened. Like it was part of her insistence that her podium be smaller so that she didn't look smaller compared to him when they're side by side on the thing. And you can see in their side by side shots that just proportionally, she looks like she's zoomed in on more too to bring her up to scale of Donald, because her head looks Donald size, which I would bet that it is not.
This picture looks like Beetlejuice house.
Right? Yeah, we'll just kind of angle the camera a little bit so you don't notice that that one is clearly taller than the other. Like it feels like they've got it at an angle so that they're close to the same height if you're just looking. But if you look at the floor, they're not.
The stage, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
No.
Trains.
Not trains.
No.
We're probably going to get that on all of these fucking clips that I have pulled up, but we'll deal. It's fine. Thank
totally
you,
worth it.
I mean, we are 5 seconds into it, so might as well take a 3-minute break to learn about trains. All right, here we go. Here's their intro. Silent.
Kamala Harris.
Let's have a good debate.
See you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both.
She said her name. I'm Kamala Harris.
Oh, you're this woman I've been hearing so much about, huh? You're Kamala Harris? Yeah.
Oh, that's you.
Is that like a power move that she walked to his side of the stage before they could meet in the middle, and she took the lead on, oh, it's me, Kamala Harris. I hope you have a good debate. And he's just like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. Get over at your podium. Don't care. Like, that feels like an intentional move that she was prepped to do. Like, you take the lead on that and don't let him come over and give you the handshake where he jerks you in and makes you look like
arm
a bitch.
grab.
Right.
It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their #1 issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President...
Now, I wanted to play the beginning of her response. This is the first response out of anybody's mouth, and it feels so much like the interview where she's just instantly goes into, here's what my notes say, and it feels like an opening argument rather than a response to what he's saying.
And Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am...
Just the body language of, so...
Let's
like,
start
it
here.
always feels like she's reluctantly like, and here's way too much information, I guess. Here we go.
Actually, the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people.
What was it?
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the
and
American.
the dreams. Not just the ambitions, but also the aspirations and also the dreams. It's like she just carries a thesaurus around so that she can fill in time.
People. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing.
Which I will not
We
explain.
know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000.
Pay close attention. I'm pretty sure that's the one issue that she's going to do. Just that tax cut. She's leaning real heavily into that, and she's mostly just, she's going to do it. She's got it. She's going to do it.
Is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion. One of them is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses.
I love my second mother. I love her. I cherish her. I embrace her. I like her.
To start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide
Okay. Now, at this point, Donald Trump should have immediately, he should have led with, you are currently in the White House. She's like, his plan is to do what he's done every time before. And it's like, well, bitch, you've got this plan. It's very vague, and you're not saying anything that you're going to start on day one. Why aren't you starting it now? He does say that, but he doesn't say it until his closer, and he closes last, so she doesn't even have a chance to respond to it. That should have been what he leads with, but I don't know. We're obviously not going to cover this entire 2-hour debate, but his response was, if it's not in my next clip, it was lackluster. But you got any thoughts so far, Dave?
Strong start. Though I'll say the same thing that I said last week about this lady, is that I feel like, she studies hard for the big shit, and once she gets out there, she gets nervous, and she just starts remembering random lines. Like the middle class is what I care about, and I got this plan, and this is obviously what we're doing, and I care about small businesses. So I don't know what my opponent's doing here, but she just kind of throws it out, gets little bits of what her coaches are telling her what to do, but
that
she's
was
a
several minute response, and all she said was child tax credit, better economy, families, life better, some stories. Like, she said absolutely nothing aside from child tax credit, which, okay, great. Now I'm trying to find my notes to see what is next. I should have had them up here. Okay. So, in this next clip, Kamala Harris, well, I don't even, there's going to be some things here that will make you pull your hair out if you have a fucking clue. She's really basing her whole strategy heavily on the idea that most people don't have a fucking clue, because there's at least 5 different things that have been debunked ad nauseum, and they're still just running with it. But here is, I don't remember where this starts, but we get into some January 6th stuff a little bit.
Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
Same one.
When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
This is not the right clip, I don't think.
But I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Since the Civil War. She said this, to be clear, she said this on September 10th.
Right.
September 10th, she had the balls to say the worst attack since the Civil War.
And I bet you he wasn't smart enough to go, are you sure you're not forgetting something,
Oh,
madam?
of course. Yeah, he didn't bother to bring that up. I mean, him and I think Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and J.D. Vance and everybody showed up at this 9/11 memorial the next morning. This was on the agenda, but she still is like, no, January 6th is the worst attack on our democracy since sliced bread, because 9/11 didn't happen. But
maybe when they say our democracy, what they really mean is the 435 members of Congress and the 100 senators. That's really what they mean. Just us.
Yeah, 9/11 didn't hurt them at all. Yeah,
right. We're good.
They had already evacuated all the important buildings and taken all their stuff at that point. So no worries there. All right. She goes on to talk about Project 2025, which, as we all know, is Donald Trump's big plan that he has not, denied over and over and over again.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But
and
I'm going to tell you
dreams?
all in this
or
debate
just aspirations
tonight,
and hopes this
you're
time?
going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us, and I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
So she's using that again. The things that unite us. And she uses that multiple times because that's really what she's going for. Donald Trump's a divider. I'm a uniter. I bring Dick Cheney and Green Day together under one tent, and together we bomb Gaza and everything. But Project 2025. Donald Trump did come out right after that and say, I've denied this multiple times. She knows it. You know it. Everybody knows it. I'm not a part of Project 2025. Yeah. And if I recall, let's go and watch a little bit of his response. I don't remember him saying anything about 9/11 or anything being worse than January 6th. Let's find out.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantial.
That's another thing that he does a lot in this debate, which is not abnormal for Donald Trump, but he reverts way too heavily to I'm good, and I'm good because people say I'm good, and you know I'm good. Everybody knows I'm an open book. I'm good. I'm good. I mean, it's kind of Tim Walz' strategy too. Like everybody, you know my record. You know me. I'm not a bad guy. I'm great. And yeah, he's going to do that a lot.
And create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Yeah.
This is where that they both won't say shit, and this is where he's wrong and she's wrong too.
Sure.
And they'll keep kicking the football because he goes on, and I don't know if you'll play that part, but he goes, "Look, inflation under Biden is worse than ever, and this is all you, bro. We're feeling your inflation, your $7 trillion that you injected into the economy. You did that." And she won't say that either because they kicked in another $5 trillion or so after that. Plus,
they are both guilty on that front, and so all he can do is say, we did the best that we could, and we did great, and we handed it off to them, and they ruined it. And all she can say is, he did terrible, and he handed us something bad, and we made it great. And neither one of those things are true, but it doesn't matter. All right. Let's the next one here. Let's go ahead and jump to that, where Donald Trump is talking about Kamala Harris not having any issues, any stances on any actual policies or anything, and pay attention to the alternative. What he says are his issues and his stances on policies.
You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
So her claim is that Donald Trump has no plan for you, which, frankly, if the government doesn't have a plan for me, I prefer over them having a plan for me. But Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you, Dave, is what she's saying.
It's just a sound.
Here.
But they gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors.
And for him to say that's just a soundbite, they gave her that to say. He better have a good response to that.
The top professors think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden.
So his plan, no need to mention it. Just know that top professors called him and said it was a good plan. It's got strong money. It's going to bring big things and greatness to us. But she doesn't have a plan, and she knows that she doesn't have a plan.
Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
If you have to say it 4 times, bro.
Great.
She doesn't. She doesn't have a plan. You've seen her plan. It doesn't exist. She doesn't have a plan. I have a plan. She doesn't have a plan. Like, that's all we've said so far. I have a plan. People like it. She doesn't have a plan. You've seen her plan. It's not a plan. Okay.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded.
Yeah, I don't care about this. I just thought that was worth a note. While he's saying she doesn't have a plan, he didn't give any plan of any kind. He just said, trust me, I have a plan. On that note, he's not different than Kamala. If he can't say, I have a plan, here's at least a little bit of my plan, then you're not different in that. And even if your team has a plan that you're planning to implement, this is debate night, bro. Show up with a plan, or at least don't call out the other person for not having a plan if your only plan is that you have a big plan. Dave, you're muted.
God damn it. I hate it. I was going to get through this one without that. I love that. I love when they were talking about healthcare, he goes, well, I got a part of a plan.
Right. We'll get there.
Okay, we're going to talk about that one too. But it's like, she's obviously, when she says Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you, what she's really saying is the Republicans aren't spending money on you. They're not going to have a program for you. Mm-hmm. So when he says, like, he can't articulate it. Oh, but he wants to get rid of Obamacare, but won't do it until there's another plan. Like, he can't just go in and repeal Obamacare. So, like, I do have, again, he's correct saying there's nothing I can do about it right now. There's not the will in Congress to repeal it. Like, so I can't do that. And I'm focused on the border. I'm focused on inflation. I'm focused on these other things. So, like, I get that. Like, what do you want from him? Do you want a Republican big government healthcare plan? Like, you're not going to get that from the Republicans or Trump. But it sounds great when she goes, we've got this plan. He's got no plan. Like, that's what have you done for me lately? Politics.
Sure. Absolutely. Now, in this next one, this, I believe, is where the cats come into play. And without any setup, y'all, if you haven't seen it, just judge for yourself. Now, keeping in mind, we knew about the cats thing because we pay close attention to this stuff. It just started making even internet news less than 24 hours before this interaction happened. So y'all let us know if you think he handled it properly.
Well, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy.
So this is an entirely different question where she called him out for like chip manufacturing being more in China, and he's like, it was in Taiwan because people like them, because of their plan, and their plan's bad, and that's why. Like, he still gives no real explanation. Just people like them are the reason why we had to get chips from Taiwan.
Thing that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end.
He's not wrong there. He's not wrong.
Can you pause it, though?
Yeah.
So what he should do is go, she's going to my policy. She took my no tips for waitresses. She took my border policy. She took, like, he should not just
go down the list.
Yes, dude, break it down.
She was anti-cop. She was open border, like all these things that were my thing that she was not only against, but she was attacking me for. Those are her plan now. She's not just taking your plan. She's completely inverting her entire viewpoint to match your plan because your plan is more in line with what it seems the people want. Because we saw her plan. It didn't work out.
Of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's...
Look at it.
Yep.
Look at it. I love this.
That's all
she's
she's
so
got.
Great. I love it.
Now, even on this, I think that he should have had a little bit more depth than just, she's a Marxist, everybody knows it, her dad was a Marxist, because that just leaves the door open for... this guy's crazy. He's talking about eating dogs and her being a communist and all that shit. And all she has to do is stand there and look smug, and people who support her will be like, yeah, that face she made was way better than him saying that nothing.
Done to our country. And when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration.
It's just scattershot of like, just focus a little bit. It's like, and economy and immigration, and we're going to talk about that later. And it's like, just laser in on the actual thing you're trying to say. That's my biggest complaint in this debate is, and it's always been my complaint with Donald Trump. And I do the same thing. As you can see, I stop in the middle of a sentence and move on to something else when I have a lot on my mind. And I'm sure he's got a lot more on his mind than I do. So fair game. But yeah, it's a pretty big debate. So, and it is our job to nitpick.
Is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump.
She has destroyed our country with policy that's insane, so insane that they would say it has destroyed our country. Great. Thank you for clearing that up.
Right.
Yes, I don't disagree with the point
right,
that you're trying to make. You're just not making the point.
Yeah, that's the in a roundabout way. That's
and in the moment, for me, as I said, like, I didn't see it as much of a mess the first watch, because I'm just like, give me something to grasp onto here, like attack her on something, because I feel like there's a lot there, and he did more than he has done in the past, but it was still like, yeah, maybe you should have gone to the training also and not just assumed you had this in the bag. I feel like there might be a little bit of that. He went into this not realizing how much stringent training. She was probably in debate boot camp that was forced on her by George Soros for the past month, and wasn't allowed out of the basement until she gave an answer that wasn't laughter. So
that's what I'm saying, dude. That's why they weren't. They know that they don't need to do interviews. Oh, why isn't she doing any interviews? Because the general populace only sees the main shit.
Yeah.
So they know that they don't have to focus on that. Fuck you. We're going to tie this up. And now I feel like it's probably, it's probably an even game. Really. I don't know, man.
I don't know about that, but I think we're in about the same place as we were before the debate, to be completely honest. I think there might be one or two people who are swayed a little bit to be like, okay, instead of not voting, I might go to the booth and vote for this person. I think that's the only types of people who might be a little bit swayed by this. Real quick,
so I was just listening to he was just on Joe Rogan doing the event with Angela, Brett Weinstein.
Yeah.
And he was talking about like forget what he calls it, but like, the cheating window or something like that. So like, do you think that the cheating window is close enough that they could pull? Yeah. Okay.
It's closer than it should be for Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. It's way closer than it should be. Judging by what I've seen everywhere, it's like it doesn't seem as laughable to everybody else as it is to us that Kamala Harris is the president, or could be the president. It seems absolutely laughable, but also Joe Biden seemed absolutely laughable too, and they still supposedly voted for him. So, who knows? Let's see. I think there was more on this clip. Let's see.
To the issue of abortion, President Trump, you've often...
I didn't mean to move on yet. We're still in this clip.
Thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion.
No.
President Trump, you've...
Okay. So I thought that was where the cats are. I guess they come up later, but we're going to talk about abortion first, apparently. That's just the intro of Donald Trump sounding a little bit off his rocker when he throws shit out there, but here's
touted that
abortion.
You were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short, and you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President...
This is, I will say before he answers, a completely legitimate question that I'm glad she asked, because we were asking the same, or at least I was asking the same thing on the podcast the last couple of weeks, like, what is your stance? And it seems like it has shifted at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks. So, fair question. And yes, to all those who think that they were harder on Trump than they are on Kamala, they were. But also, this is one that I I fully endorse.
Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that.
Now,
and her vice...
Before we continue, just her expressions, just shaking her head. She's absolutely appalled. This cannot be possible. And the moderators will weigh in, too, to make sure that you know that what Donald Trump is saying is not true. So before we continue, let's just watch this for a second.
Intention. No exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want the decision to be made by the mothers and their providers. And this is why, Julie, that legislators,
and I guess the father,
most
if you feel
of whom
like
are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
Okay, so that never happened, as we're going to find out for Kamala Harris. But she's absolutely appalled that Donald Trump could, indicate that may have happened once.
Vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to...
Now, even on this, if I were going into this knowing that abortion was going to be raised, and I was definitely going to make this point, I would have the guy's name, the state, where you can find the clip, and be like, oh, no, you can look it up. It's what was it, Ralph Northam of Virginia? He said it on such and such show. He doesn't do that either. He never has. It feels like just your uncle who is the conspiracy QAnon type guy who's just like, no, this happened, and you're like, that didn't happen. Like, no, it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude,
well,
this is
that's it. Give
me
something.
Lot. Like, I know they're both. Look, what's happening in Springfield, Ohio, to the extent that it's happening, is awful, and the abortion culture in America is awful. But he should be cognizant of when he comes out and goes, they're executing babies.
Right.
Like, bro, you just have to do a better job. I know it. You should be fired up about that.
Yes.
But
and it is happening, or at least they're pushing for it to happen. And that is
Right.
worth a mention, but come with a little bit more ammo than it's happening because I said, or I saw it on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll watch a little bit more of this and we'll move on.
To get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it.
So he also doesn't draw a fine, like a firm line. If you remember, the question was like, you've gone back and forth on this policy, and where do you stand on it now? And he's like, well, they like it up till 9 months. I'm not that. And I agree with rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Now, she will then go on to say, Donald Trump doesn't even agree with rape, incest, or the life of the mother right after he said it. So it's kind of just talking over each other and saying the sound bite that they're supposed to say. And it's not even a debate at that point. But he does not answer the question on where he thinks life begins. And I think it should be for all boomer Republicans who voted on that and only that for the last 40 years. It should be a big question to ask. And I'm glad she asked it. And I wish he had a better answer than they're worse on it. Okay, we know they're worse on it. Where do you stand on it, though? That's the question.
Yeah, and this is the problem with maybe it's not the problem, but you have the hard conservative opinion on this and the hard liberal opinion on this. And they both have to run on the hard opinion and then come into the general and go, oh, you know what I really meant was
the big ass.
So, right, dude. Of course, Donald Trump is going to tell you exactly what polling says Americans want, which is, there's probably a little wiggle room there.
But the problem is that Donald Trump is making the big ask against what the Republicans claim to be for. He's making the big ask of Republicans to give more leeway on this than they've ever given before. That's his big ask, instead of making the big ask against Democrats like, yes, I'm going to ban abortion. If you don't want that, maybe we can talk about states. That would be the big ask in the favor of what his general voting base wants. So this is pandering, I would say, to the other side.
He's making a wager, right, that he already has the right and he needs the middle. He needs the middle, bro. You cannot, no one can win going, I am full on going to have a national abortion ban. Every single, you can say it and you can feel pure and you can be right. You will lose.
It should say something, though, to where, to the testicular fortitude of Democrats versus Republicans, because he knows that he can pull the Republicans closer to the middle and closer to the left and closer on this very, very big issue for them, and he's not going to lose a voter in that camp, but he's willing to go over there to try and snake some of Kamala's supporters.
Look, don't make any mistake about it, dude. This is part of the transformation of the Republican Party into the MAGA Party. You are going to, over time, get less and less of the Bill of Rights and less liberty shit and more big, strong, powerful coalition. We got, we're working with RFK over here, so we're cool with some of these issues, maybe a little bit of abortion here and there. It's the Bible's my second favorite book after Art of the Deal, or that kind of shit. They're just getting away from some of that stuff, and I think that's the future of the Republican Party.
Yeah, good job, conservatives. You've conserved so well. Now, speaking of conserving things, I don't know, immigration. And eating dogs. We're finally there. We found the clip. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Here we go. You tell me if he, knowing that this news just broke or started to break, not even on mainstream news, but on the internet, started to trickle out there less than a day before or around a day before. How do you think your boomer liberal grandmother hears this?
It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country.
It is her appeal to emotion.
Would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand...
I just can't handle the gaslighting of he would rather run on a problem than fixing a problem while you're currently in the White House. You could be the president if you tried a little bit, because it wouldn't take that much. But let's just say your administration is currently running the show, and you're running on that we have a problem that needs fixed, like the literal definition of what you just described of him running on a problem rather than fixing a problem, but you're going to use that against him. Sure.
This comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand.
Solutions.
But what we have in the former president is someone,
solutions like those plans that we both talked about earlier.
Who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Say it again.
And I'll tell you something. He's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And
this is a point that I wanted to make too. This is a trap, because she's talking about immigration, which should be a big slap for him, because he was the hard on immigration racist, as they said. And now she is the hard on immigration, and she's saying that Donald Trump's not good on immigration. That should be an easy one to respond to, but she gives her nothing answer, and then her gaslighting answer, and then moves into this manipulative tactic of just attack Donald Trump on his his rallies, and he's not as cool. Like, she knows that he's got a big ego to him. So all you got to do is throw something in there at the end that is about his ego, and he will just completely disregard the entirety of the immigration slap that he could have gotten and defend his rallies.
I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
Gaslighting.
And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
I will as soon as I start my next round.
Thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you...
He's like cutting him off. He's like, no, I got to talk about this rally thing. No, hold on. She said something mean. I'm going to say something mean back.
Try to kill that bill, and successfully so. That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies.
No, I will not. Like, even the moderator's like, we're talking about immigration. There should be an easy one for you. He's like, no. This rally thing. Let's get back to that.
People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible.
People don't leave his rallies when there's gunshots. People still stay. They stay until they die. Like, people don't leave his rallies generally, but he is staking the bait. This is
another example of all true stuff, and you're blowing it.
Sure.
Incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation, and it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject.
Even he knows that he's on a tangent. He's like, let's just scattershot again. We're going to end up in World War III.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating...
True. But also, I'm going to need more of an explanation for the common folk, because right now we've got Donald Trump screaming, they're eating the dogs, and Kamala Harris is laughing at him. That's the optics that we have here.
Skipped right over the 20,000 Haitians dropped.
Yeah.
In Springfield, and just said, they're eating the dogs.
You jumped right to the punchline, bro. You need a little bit of setup there.
They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say.
He goes back to the rallies.
Amazing.
He was set up for immigration. He goes from, no, my rallies are great. Her rallies suck. They're eating the dogs. Now let's get back to the rallies. Her rallies suck and mine are great.
They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase. Make America great again.
Oh, no. What happened? Oh, shit. This is where it freezes up, and I think I jumped to different links for the rest of it, but you get the point. Yeah. Just focus, bro. I want you to win. I do. And I think it goes without saying, and I haven't been that secretive, if I have to choose between any of the current people, it's a clear choice. But bro, like, don't be... You're the art of the deal guy. You should have seen that for what it was. It was a setup, and you took it hook, line, and sinker when you could have said, there's a flood of migrants coming in, and didn't you happen to be like the borders are racist person? You invited them all in. You were the borders are this and that. Like, there's a lot that you could have gone to, but you went to my rallies are good, and people go. Why do they go? Because they like them. They like my rallies. It's like, come on.
I wish, even playing to your strengths, like if I was his debate prep coach or whatever, I would be like, okay, man, you're going to be talking about how big and great your rallies are, I'm sure, at some point today. So make sure to jab her and go, I don't have to bring Megan Thee Stallion, to put up, like, jab her with that. Don't just say my rallies are big and yours are not.
And Kamala led it with, I'm sure we're going to talk about Immigration Day. I'm sure he'll bring it up more than it even like warrants or whatever. But it's quite the opposite. He brings that up less than it warrants, and he brings up these rallies instead. So the team that's saying, I'm sure you're going to bring up the rallies, you're going to bring it up more than it warrants. We know that. That doesn't need to be in the playbook. Focus on the actual issue, which is the immigration, because this should be an easy one. I know COVID's not as easy for you, but oh boy. Oh, boy. Like, all the way back to Obama, you could have attacked her on, and then Joe Biden, and now her. And even to her role in it as the border czar. There's so much to work with there, and you went with, they like my rallies. Okay. I believe you, again, but now's not the time, Donald.
Like a moth to the flame.
Yep.
Let's talk about...
Okay, this one is... just some scare tactics from Kamala, and I like Trump's response.
Extreme, and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize.
I want to hear that soundbite. Dear Kamala supporters, if you're listening, or Kamala herself, if you're listening, first off, praise be, hail, hail, hail. But send me that soundbite, because I will play it over and over and over again. I'm not a Trump simp here. If you can find me that clip of Donald Trump saying that he would abolish the Constitution, yes, that seems like a big deal that we should be addressing. Now, as scary as it sounds as unhinged as it sounds for Trump to say they're eating the dogs, at least his is based on something. Hers is just, he's going to burn the literal piece of paper Constitution and shoot all the Supreme Court justices. Like, give me one tiny piece of evidence, please, because that's quite an allegation to make.
You know the difference, though, bro, is that the people that already hate Donald Trump and know they've spent years, oh my God, these Supreme Court justices, blah, blah, blah. Like, her lies are close enough to what they all believe that it's like...
because they were brainwashed into thinking that he was going to burn it down the last time. Right. And now here we are. It's not burned down, but they still will believe that he wants to shred the Constitution. Sure.
Yeah, sounds like something.
The Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no...
That feels like another setup for a trap there. She's like, oh, he did the military thing. I don't know if Donald Trump once said they're losers and suckers. I don't really care. I don't care at all if Trump did or did not say something just so bullyish about military people. Great. Now, how is he going to handle the military? I don't care his opinions on the military. I care what he does with them when he is the commander-in-chief. But he's going to buy into that trap and go with, I did not say that. I would never say that about those people. Like, okay, who cares?
Because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president...
This is the one that weaponized, not me. she weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
Can you
they
pause
talk
it?
about
Yes.
When I saw him say that, and I'm looking for anything that I can pull from and go, like, what really happened. And when he said that, I probably took a bullet to the head. Like, it felt like he was serious and a little bit irritated. It felt like I did take a bullet to, like, just putting that out there. I think
I wanted him to lean into that more. I was glad he said it because that's quite a statement to make. And it's not like, if you believe the bullet story, which I'm torn on, if you take that as truth, yes, absolutely, she had something to do with it. If he had something to do with inciting an insurrection on January 6th, then they definitely had something to do with inciting a bullet to the head for him. So, yeah, I was glad.
I'll say that real quick, man. And Melania has been on a tear about this lately on her Twitter, and she doesn't speak much.
Yeah.
But she came out the other day and was just basically like, I think it's a little bit curious that no one is talking about the attempted murder of my husband. And I do too. Why is that a major topic? Like, why
I took a shower last night, and as I was getting out of the shower, I don't know why I'm saying exactly when it happened, but I was getting out of the shower, and I thought, we had a presidential assassination attempt like a month ago, and nobody gives a shit. What the?
Not that they don't, but it's more than that. It's not that they don't give a shit. It's like, it's super sus that they're not talking about it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
think it's sus on both sides too, which that whole thing makes me think that they're all in cahoots, but I don't know. Whatever. Let's get back to this.
democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
we do have a lot
that
to get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Yeah, and they had a lot to get to, so we don't want to get into that too deep. Like, I would point out that he said very little there except for his Russia slogan. He's not wrong. Once again, I would have liked for him to have dug deeper, but clearly they weren't going to let him dig deeper, so I can't hold that against him.
True.
Any thoughts on that before we move on, Dave?
No, just that was what I was going to say. Like, if I know he only had 5 seconds at the end, but instead of saying Russia, because that just makes you sound like that's like your tagline or whatever. Like you could have went into a second, but like, the establishment turned on me. Like your government, it went rogue. Like, use some other words.
It feels the same as, what do you think about immigration? Well, I have great rallies, and MAGA is a great slogan. People like that slogan. Like, yes, we know. All right, now this next one is just one of the fun sound bites of the night. Sadly, the mics are muted in between most of the time, so we didn't get too many of these, but when they come, we got to celebrate them.
Fracking? She's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? Shut up. Silly woman.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep.
So good.
I don't even care about the rest of that clip. I just, like, I know it's petty and it's playing into what they want and the WWE of the thing, but and I mean, give me that at least. And that some of those moments, like, that's why people like Trump to begin with. I like Rand Paul a lot more than I like Donald Trump, but I still laughed when he made fun of Rand Paul's hair or said Jeb was, what was he, low energy, or said Ted Cruz was Lion Ted or whatever. I know it's petty, and that is why a lot of people hate Donald Trump, but that's also why a lot of people like Donald Trump, because it feels more real to be like, yo, chill, bitch. Like, I'm talking now. If you can do it, I can do it. I don't think he pulled it off that well with the sound familiar?
And look, when he says, I don't know if we'll get into that, but like, I'm just asking the public, and whether you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, you can tell he was not prepared for this, but he looks her in the eye, not breathing heavily, and goes, I'm speaking. Whereas she, like, you can see her taking, clearing her throat, and like, that's how she was.
There's a lot of dry mouth moments for her, swallowing hard in the middle of her answers too.
Pay attention when she goes.
Clearly less comfortable than he is.
Yeah. So when he says, I would talk with, President Xi, and I would get there with, Viktor Orban and, Zelensky. He's serious. There's nothing that makes that guy appear nervous at all. She is a train wreck, bro.
Yeah. When he talks to them, he might not know what he's talking about, but he would talk to them confidently. And I don't get that vibe from her. I don't get the vibe that she would know what she's talking about or do it confidently.
Correct.
All right. Now, this next one is a bit of a hit on Trump. I feel like we should be keeping tally, but I guess it's not fair because we're not doing the whole debate. But this is Donald Trump. Actually, that might be the last one. Let me see.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to... laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out... Wait a minute, I'm talking now.
Yeah, that's the last one.
If you don't mind, please.
We are now over here on whether or not Donald Trump thinks solar is good or bad. Dave, you tell me if you think Donald Trump is in favor or not in favor of solar power.
If she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead, we'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get to.
environment.
Dave, do you think that Donald Trump is in favor or not in favor of solar? I honestly don't know.
Hard to tell after that. I think you know what it is.
Solar's bad. They take deserts. I like it. But they do these real bad things, and we shouldn't do it.
Beautiful desert, beautiful. Cover it with solar panels.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he likes the free energy, and he probably doesn't like the aesthetic.
Yeah. I feel like this is a topic where he heard some things, and he's not entirely sure which way he's supposed to go with it. And he's just like, the solar, I've heard it's bad. And also, I like it. If you work in solar, I like you. I like you as a person. Vote for me. But, solar isn't bad in general, but it's bad when they do these things that are required for solar. That's all.
Bro, at the end of the day, if Trump is anything, I hope that he wants America, if he's serious, what you're getting with Trump is a guy who would like America to be competitive and strong.
Sure.
And, economically, he wants to see prosperity, all these things. Bro, the rest of the world and the, corporate, technocratic, satanic elite want the opposite. They want to bring down America. They've decided, the death cult has decided that, you've been living too large for too long, and it's not fair to the rest of the world, and we can't bring everybody up to your standards, so we have to bring you down. So I'm hoping that Donald Trump is the guy that's saying, nah, fuck that. We'll be as good as we can. And the clincher with that is you can't be fucking over the rest of the world for that. Yeah. So that's where we're going to have to, where the rubber meets the road, work that out. But I hope that we can be competitive and not drop our standards over the next couple generations to the point where we're eating the bugs and this shit.
Sure.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And how Donald Trump would handle bringing up the fact that Klaus Schwab talked about living in pods and eating bugs, he would say, they're making us eat bugs. You've seen it.
And she'd be like, this guy.
No, that's not happening. Yes, I heard. No. Yes. No. Yes. That's where we're at. You're weird. You're weird. No, you're weird. Anyway, this next one is pretty weird because Kamala Harris just goes down the list. And keep in mind, there were a few fact checks. I think a couple of them we're going to get to, but there were a few fact checks on Donald Trump. I don't think it was nearly as egregious as some right-wingers seem to think it was, but he did have some fact checks where they did not fact check her at all. And this is only like halfway through the debate here, so for them to not fact check any of this, or say no to any of this, is quite impressive. And it's also quite impressive the balls on this woman to feel. Now, when she leads up to it, you'll know the point. When she leads into the thing that you know that she's going to say, you can ask my wife. I was on the couch and I was like, don't you dare, don't you, mother. Okay, you'll know the point.
One of the people that burned down Minneapolis is going to be prosecuted, or in Seattle. They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. One of those people.
Name them. Say the thing.
Exactly.
Details. Name them. Chaz, Chop, you know the thing. Like most people don't. Name names, bro.
They're going to be prosecuted.
But let me just ask you.
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were.
I was like that. You might ask her that question right there.
Watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
Oh yeah, this is on January 6th to start out with, and he was asked the question, "Is there anything you regret?" And he was like, "Well, what about them? What about them? And what about this and that?" And then he has to re-ask the question, "Is there anything that you regret?" And here's his answer.
Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said,
now, I will say he handled this question pretty good in reverting to Nancy Pelosi here, because he did say, I had nothing to do with that. And I don't think he needs to elaborate that much more on that at this point. Mm-hmm. And him turning it into Nancy Pelosi directly was responsible for the security at this event. She knew that it was going to happen. She chose not to. I think that is the right spin on that one. Like, no, fuck you. I didn't have anything to do with it. There's nothing I regret because I had nothing to do with it.
I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond to it.
I mean, such a dick move. The question was about you, sir. Do you have anything? Well, he did answer that, and he added and elaborated and said, talk to this person if you have concerns. Well, we weren't talking about that person. Yes, but that is the answer to that question.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect.
And that little girl at the Capitol was me.
There.
He should have went, he should have went, I'm in New York on 9/11.
Right.
Which one do you think, That's what I would have said.
Yep.
The president of the
Dave, 9/11 pales in comparison to January 6th. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
What's with the smirk?
And understand, the former president...
Oh, that's the tactic of somebody who's lying. Yes, where they smile to make them seem more confident in what they're saying, but they're actually telling lies because a bunch of people did not die at the Capitol. A couple police officers died like days later, seemingly unrelated, but the only person that died was Ashley Babbitt.
The president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville.
Let's remember
where there was a
this is the point where I was like, no, you cannot, you can't do it.
Hate.
Don't do it.
And what
did he say?
Then at the time
what did he say?
Look at her face.
There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that.
Got it in.
When it came to the Proud Boys, a militia.
A militia.
The president said, the former president said, stand back
You
and stand
dumb
by.
bitch.
So when it came to a militia, he said, stand back and stand by. Okay. I don't see any problem with that personally, but that's just me. I mean, if you want to get into more of your issues with the Proud Boys as a militia, that's something. But him telling a militia to stand back and stand by sounds like proper presidential behavior.
So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back.
Oh.
Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
Shut up!
And if that was a bridge too
Silly
far
woman.
for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you.
Oh, my God.
If that was a bridge too far for you, we're turning the page on this current administration. Like,
bro,
go ahead.
I can't. The we aren't going back. Like, this is a blatant dog whistle. She's calling him a fucking Nazi, a KKK racist, and this white man who inspired a Nazi takeover.
Wants to make it great again. We know what that means. Make America great again was slavery, and we are not going back to that. It's brilliant marketing. It's brilliant PR, brainwashing.
It's so dangerous, man. It's so dangerous. More the ultimate doublespeak, but like just dangerous. Yep. Shit. They talk about inciting violence. That's another one of their favorite buzzwords. But what she's doing is inciting violence. That's what she's doing.
Perhaps. I would have to mull that one over a bit to see if I agree. But
I think. Well, do you think it's fair that? Maybe I won't put it on her specifically, but if in tandem, the entire corporate press, Joe Biden comes out, white supremacy is the biggest threat in America, Donald Trump is leading this, blah, blah, blah.
If what he did was inciting, then what they're doing is inciting. Yes. If that's our standard that we're going with now, which is double, like newspeak also, that we're inciting violence, if we're using that terminology, yes. And it could lead to something. And what Donald Trump said earlier about he probably took a shot to the face because of their rhetoric. Yes, it's inciting in that way, but I still don't think that that's any more inciting than January 6th. Or maybe it is more, but it's still not, in my opinion. But, yeah. Carry on. We got to get to the greatest hits.
For country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law.
There's one more here, I think.
And to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
Can't find my bloodbath clip.
Let's not go back.
Oh, here it is.
Let's chart a course.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. We got to go. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.
Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
Have you or a loved one been injured by some fuck nuggets, reckless driving, a tumble at your shitty job, or some other form of dumb shit outside of your control? Well, fear not, because today's episode is sponsored by a lawyer. Lone Star Injury Attorneys is an award-winning personal injury law firm that achieves maximum results for its injured clients. Max the Axe is not just a lawyer, but a hardcore Mises Caucus libertarian and also a big supporter of this show and all of our bullshit. Max is the best personal injury lawyer in Texas, but don't judge him by his occupation or location. Max is an avid defender of liberty and justice in whatever state you got fucked in. If you've been injured and your ass needs saving, go with the pros at Lone Star Injury Attorneys. Visit LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com or Google Max the Axe. Consultations are free and you don't pay a single dime unless you win. Once again, go to LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com and get your ass covered. And we are back. Dave, do you have any thoughts on any final thoughts on that segment of all the greatest hits from January 6th to Bloodbath to Very Fine People and all the things that have been debunked over and over and over again?
Just that is still successful. That still works. That should be the takeaway. That we can't believe it, but that still works. Like that's how much.
Wouldn't say it if it didn't still get the clicks.
Yeah,
like that. After the last debate, Joe Biden said it multiple times in the last debate, the Very Fine People thing, and then he had the balls to post it on his Twitter, or whoever runs his Twitter or ran his Twitter, posted it on his Twitter that Donald Trump said very fine people on both sides. Like, they don't care that you know it's false. They don't care that it's very verifiably, provably false. They're just going to say it because it doesn't matter, and people will just be like, yeah, I remember that thing. And it happened because I haven't looked into it for more than 5 seconds because I'm dumb.
People read the headlines,
big dumb face.
They read the headlines, they read the front page, and then they print a retraction months later on page 25, and nobody sees it. That's what's going on.
That's right. Now for this next one, we brought this up last week, or I brought it up last week, on the Lackluster episode on Thursday or Friday, or who cares? Don't listen to it. It was bad. I brought up the Donald Trump saying that he lost by a whisker or Joe Biden won by a whisker. That was brought up in this debate, and let's see how Donald Trump handled it.
Immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
But
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they
Okay, then he goes into how there's so much proof, and you know that there's proof, and blah, 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 proof. So his response to, I guess there must have been a couple other things, because we just pointed out the loss by a whisker or whatever, but apparently he said, I would imagine those other things. He doesn't seem to remember saying them, but he definitely said at least the lost by a whisker thing. Apparently he said it sarcastically, Dave. Is there a way, have you heard the clip, the lost by a whisker clip?
Yes, I did hear that.
Did it sound sarcastic to you?
It didn't sound sarcastic, but I think what he's trying to say is like, well, look, dude, he did lose. Was it stolen from him? I'd say. Taller? Oh, I don't know. I wish.
I don't know what happened. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yes. I mean, he did lose the election, but it was stolen. So, like, both things are kind of true, but he should have worded that better.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they came up with more votes. There were more pieces of paper that said Biden on it. So you lost, bro.
Let's see.
I mean, honestly, we got millions of more votes than we did in the first election. We did great in the first one. We won. And I was told we got 63 million votes in the first election. I was told if we get 63 million votes, same number, there's no way we can be defeated. I got 10 or 12 million votes more than that, more than anybody had ever got. We got the most votes of anybody, of any sitting president in history. And he beat us by a whisker, and it was a terrible thing. They used COVID to...
Okay. Sarcastic? I don't know. Why is my camera frozen? Because why wouldn't it be? Why would things just work? So Trump lost by a whisker. Let's go back to that clip. I did like... I found it amusing because Donald Trump goes on this, we definitely didn't lose. We definitely didn't lose by a whisker. I was being sarcastic thing. Then I liked the moderator's response.
All of these pieces of video, I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker, we didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
so I like how he's fact-checking whether or not Donald Trump was, which I guess is not that dissimilar to what I just did. But he didn't detect any sarcasm. So as a debate moderator, it seems like not the place to fact check Donald Trump's sarcasm or his vocal inflections that might make you lean one way or the other. But yeah, I thought it was amusing.
Well, but don't forget, I mean, and this, we should have probably said this in the beginning, as if, I mean, I'm sure your audience is aware, but ABC is an affiliate of Disney, which is, you know, they don't want that Epstein list to come out. Yeah. So just keep that in the back of your mind the whole time.
Yep. Yeah. Even if you believe that Donald Trump's going to release the Epstein thing, which I do not.
At least he said it, though. He said, I'll think about it.
She said, I'll think about talking to my advisors on whether or not I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at it.
Better than Kamala Harris.
It's better than not taking a look at it. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on this next one, Kamala Harris has some strong words about Donald Trump. If you thought the last gaslighting wasn't gaslighty enough, I want your thoughts on this one.
I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when
Also, keep in mind, at the beginning of this, she was like, you're going to hear a lot of the old tired playbook. You're going to hear name-calling. You're going to hear insults. You're going to hear all this guy's normal tactics. This guy is a disgrace. He's a buffoon. Like, he's not taken seriously by anybody. Like, she completely is doing the thing that she set him up to do. And he's not. He didn't attack her on her looks or her character or her personality. He attacked, well, character a little bit, but yeah, he's mostly sticking to the thing, which I think he probably could have done better on that too. But yeah, the world is laughing at Donald Trump, while Kamala Harris is currently the sitting vice president, and we just watched video last week of Vladimir Putin physically laughing when Kamala Harris's name was brought up as the future leader of the United States. Putin and the entire audience knew when he said that he supported her that it was a joke. But bro, everybody's laughing at Donald Trump.
We saw her a week and 2 weeks ago talking to, before large audiences like, oh, I need your help in 2024. And now she's on speaking like Madonna when she was going through her British phase, like over enunciating everything. Like, this president right here is just not. It's just it's so phony. I can't with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Lil Jon Megan Thee Stallion last week, but this week it's, oh, you are just, everybody's laughing at you and not taking you seriously enough.
Right. All the military guys I talk to and the world leaders I talk to, they think you're a joke. Mm-hmm. It's great.
You then talk.
And also, I don't remember what Trump's response is to this. We'll look a little bit, but this should be another easy one. Everybody's laughing at you. Like, that's a hit on your ego, bro. That should be an easy one to be like, I saw, if you're paying attention to the stuff, I saw your whole Beyonce show. I saw the no Beyonce and the lack of support, and that it was a circus that you guys were doing over there. Nobody was elected democratically, and you're concerned about January 6th being the overthrow of democracy. You were not elected democratically. You just had a circus. Everybody's laughing at you. Should have been much easier.
Talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary.
Good guy.
They said,
great.
Why is the whole
Makes
world
a mean salad.
blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him.
You pause it?
What's going on with
Yeah, go ahead.
So in my head, what he did right then was he's telling the truth. Oh, my friends, my people, the people that I talk to, they come to me and they say, oh, China's afraid of you. So he says it because it was said to him and probably is true, but then immediately went, oh man, when my friend President Xi hears this, he's going to be pissed. Yeah. So I got to correct that and go, okay, not afraid because we're friends, but you know what I mean? It's just,
and also he's not attacking her at all. She just attacked him directly, and he's going to, no, I'm not bad. I'm great. Everybody says I'm great. When she just said, everybody says you suck. And he's like, no, they say I'm good. Instead of, bro, look in the mirror. You're Kamala Harris. Everybody said you suck long before you got to this point. Everybody said you suck when you were running for president 4 years ago. They said you suck. Your own party said you suck. But instead he's like, no, I'm great because everybody thinks so.
Mm-hmm.
With North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our...
You got thoughts on that, Dave?
I want to know what he meant by that.
Yeah.
And also, I need a date on when that shit blew up.
Right.
I'll find that. Let me just check that out.
Sure. Jamie, look that shit up. Yeah, I didn't know. I don't know that much about the pipelines. I know that I thought that happened under, it blew up under Biden.
Yeah.
So Trump stopped it? I don't know much about it to weigh in. I'm only here to weigh in on what I understand, which isn't a lot. So.
Jeez,
While Dave looks that shit up.
Yeah, keep cruising.
I will move on to. Well, there was the biggest. My biggest beef with Trump was the Israel discussion. You saw the Israel discussion, right, Dave? It was basically them both fighting over, no, I support Israel more. No, I support Israel more. No, you're not a real Israeli or a real Palestinian, or like they're just pandering on both sides on this topic, and I don't like it, but there's not a clear winner in the Israel debate between the two. Kamala is a little bit more in favor of her hardcore pro-Palestine / pro-Hamas supporters who are like rage quitting the party that she wants to support, but she also has to keep up the I'm pro-Israel side of things. So I feel like she had the better stance on that, because Donald Trump was just like, no, you're bad and I'm pro-Israel. So that's kind of a toss-up, because obviously Kamala's probably going to be worse on war no matter what the war is, and she's going to handle it worse. So Donald Trump being pro-Israel and just let's give them everything that they want to fight their war is not ideal in any stretch of the imagination, and close to a disqualifier. But if we're deciding between the two, I still think on war in general, Donald Trump is the clear choice.
I would tend to agree with you, bro. And by the way, that was September 26th, 2022. So yeah, just 2 years away from when that pipeline called it one.
Killed itself?
Yeah. When it killed itself. Yeah, so I don't know what he was talking to in regards to that. I am curious. What were we talking about right before that, though? Sorry.
Israel. You talking about Israel?
Right. Yes.
Before that?
And the wars. So and yeah, who would be better on that? Thank you. So I think, man, and this is again, we got to do some like big boy decision making here, and like maybe do some calculations. But it feels to me like, one, he might press some things. She'll press nothing. So the establishment will want to continue both conflicts, be the most reckless under her administration, whereas he might have a little bit of sway here and there. Though I do feel like he is going to be friendlier towards Netanyahu and the state of Israel. So like he'll
probably about the same. Like if they're in the room with Netanyahu, they would both be kissing his feet or whatever. But if the leader of Hamas walked in, Kamala might be the one to be also like, oh, I wasn't actually kissing his feet. Like that's what we're dealing with here. Nobody's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. Though I'll say, this is what I said to those guys on the Christian podcast the other night. It's like, well, if we have two wars and Trump would end one of them, isn't that, I know that that's not perfect, but isn't that way better? Like less people will die?
Right. Neither of them are going to have an impact on a ceasefire in Israel, I would imagine. Donald Trump will in Ukraine, especially with Kennedy's help, and Kamala will not. So, yes, he is the winner in that sense. Now, the next one is the I didn't know she was black thing that I think he also handled this poorly, I'll just say.
Race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
Oh my God.
I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm
asking.
I don't know.
I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black.
I don't know what I said.
That she put out.
Not black.
And
I love it.
I'll say
I love
that.
the way he says it.
And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Now, I suspect that, Donald Trump basically just said this.
I'm trying to talk about Iran. I'm trying to talk about Valerie Jarrett wrote the Iran deal.
I know, but you've told me this 300 times. Do you know that
That's what my tweet was about.
I know. You've explained this literally 300 times.
I thought the bitch was white. God damn it! I thought the bitch was white! Fuck!
I love her.
Yep. So that was basically Donald Trump's answer. There's a lot better ways to answer this. And once again, he's not wrong. This is just a bad answer. The answer should have been something like, she said she was Indian. She was the first Indian senator. Indian, while it was politically expedient for her. I don't care about race. You guys cared about race so much that you called her the first Indian senator, and then you called her the first black vice president. And now you're calling her the first black female presidential candidate in the running. Like that. But all he could say was, I don't care what she. I don't know what I said. I don't care. I don't care. That's your thing. I don't care. Like, bro, come on.
This is another example of how this is staged, though, because how many questions do they ask in total? 6 or 7 the whole night, and one of them is, dude, you were on a show like recently where you said this one thing about your opponent. How do you respond? Like, if you're gonna do that, that's so like minutia of the details. You obviously just want to hear him respond to that. Yeah. That's the goal.
And he should know that they're definitely going to do that.
Definitely going to do that. But like, if this were a real debate, you should come out there. David Muir should go, Madam Vice President, you just said that this man was a Russian asset and tried to take over the country and he's a racist Nazi. Why did you shake his hand when you came out of here, right. here and said, have a good debate? Like, yep. That would be a great question to ask, but nobody will ask that. They'll just make him squirm over there. It's very sad.
It is very sad, and it's I would say that it's nobody's fault, but it's everybody's fault in this entire exchange. It is Kamala's fault for being worthless and everybody catering to her. It's everybody catering to her's fault for it sucking because they're catering to somebody who's worthless. It's Donald Trump's fault for not insisting or at least making a little bit of a stink over it, once again being in enemy territory, with enemies being the very objective moderators. But, if he chooses to do that, then he chooses to be criticized for how it pays off. And in this next one, I think it was possibly Trump's worst moment when he was asked about healthcare, which you mentioned earlier, Dave.
President Trump, this is now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Correct. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running.
Yeah. So again, just these guys are they're the referee who's playing a role in there. Like she made it a point to make sure that the American people knew that he had a plan and he failed at it.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything like that to her. And she's been the vice president for the past 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's little subtle things like that. Get you.
Yeah. It's not fair, but it's also another thing that should be expected, that they're not going to be fair. And that doesn't change the fact that he doesn't have an answer to this question. That is, if Kamala wasn't there, this is a perfectly legitimate question, and it should be asked.
Do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare.
I mean, we give Kamala shit. In fairness, we give Kamala shit for saying the same thing over and over again, but in different ways. He does it too, and he's doing it right now. Like, they did this and they did that, and we would have done it, but they did that, but they did it, and they did it, and then they did it. Like, he's filibustering just as much as she is right now.
But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones.
Oh, my God.
They don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a
choice
to make.
Please do.
Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did.
It was bad, but it was worse before, but it's bad, and I had the decision to save it or let it rot, but I could have let it rot, and that would have been politically expedient for me, but I chose to save it just because, and that's a good thing.
the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So no, I don't have a plan, is what you're saying. We could have a plan. We might have a plan. The plan was bad, or it was good, and now it's bad, or it's good. If I get in, it's good. If they get in, it's bad. It's going to be bad. I could have let it rot, but it could be good. I could have saved it. I can save it, but I don't want to save it because it's bad. Good God, man. That already the worst answer of the night as far as Donald Trump goes. But here's the rest.
Just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if...
The weakest answer I have ever heard Donald Trump give is just the tone in his voice. I've never even heard that tone out of Donald Trump. I don't know. I've got concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. Like, I've never heard him be that, like, I don't know. I've never heard him say, I don't know before.
I can understand not giving away your plans on some stuff.
Sure.
I also would think you going, he should know that just sounds like you're being dismissive, though. The way I got part of a plan.
Yeah,
it sounds like
plans. I'm not president. Shut up. Shut up. Right. Yeah, but you're asking to be president, and what we're asking is, when you're president, what's your plan? Well, I don't have a plan because I'm not president yet. I can just say I have a plan. It's fine. I did that the rest of this time. It's fine.
He could have just made this a perfect opportunity to just rebuke progressive policy.
Yeah.
And just say that this is not what the government should be here to do. And look, after 10 years, what has it delivered? Nothing. Yeah. It's cost you all this money. It's forced you to do things. It's forced people into shitty insurance pools. Like, that would have been great. You know, you could have taken 2 minutes on that, man. But instead, no, it was bad. I could have made it worse. I decided to fix it. Oh my God. Don't half own something. Oh, I'm president, so I guess I'll do,
right.
It's not the way.
I'll figure it out when I get there. It's fine. I mean, Kamala's no different. She's going to figure it out when she gets there, but I'm sure she thinks it's fine now because she's currently in the White House. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, Dave, in your defense, when you said that you think that Kamala won, I watched this last night, and I pulled up just clips of things that I found interesting. It was just unbiased. I wasn't looking to make it seem as though anybody was doing better, and I feel like that's been pretty clear this entire time. But the things that Kamala said were stupid. She had a lot of stupid things, but it was a lot of word salad. It was a lot of just meandering around, and I wasn't setting out to get more clips of one or the other, but there's more clips of Donald Trump that I have than Kamala Harris. So maybe that's just because I was more interested in what Donald Trump had to say than what Kamala Harris had to say, but I didn't realize I had so many more of Donald Trump, because we are now to closing statements where Kamala Harris undoubtedly will give word salad. And I know that while I was watching the debate the first time, I was definitely live tweeting the entire time, and I pointed out many, many times where it was clear that Kamala Harris had just run out of notes, run out of things to say. It's not that interesting to bring up on the podcast because it's kind of just the same thing over and over again, and she just trails off in her thing, but it's nothing that notable. It's just clear that she doesn't have something to say. So I think that's worth mentioning before we get into closing statements, that Kamala Harris did a lot of Kamala Harrising, but it's kind of like when we saw Donald Trump go up against Joe Biden, and you expected Joe Biden's Joe Bidening to be Joe Biden literally collapsing on the stage, which he did on many other stages. He never did that, so we were always like, oh, he didn't die, so he did fine. It's kind of the same with Kamala Harris. Like, she didn't fall flat on her face. Donald Trump got some good jabs in. She got some nothing burgers in, but there wasn't that much to talk about with Kamala Harris. And I think that is the best thing that she's got going for her right now. If she can keep people from talking about her, that is her best chance. Because every time something happens that is noteworthy, it's not good. It's always just Kamala Harris said some dumb shit again. So, yeah, I guess if I have recommendations for Kamala Harris, lay low. You didn't fall on your face. And that's about it. So, yeah, Kamala Harris is is not that noteworthy, just in general, in life. So when she speaks, unless she puts her foot in her mouth, as she did a few times, she might win, Dave. Are you still in the camp of Kamala Harris won so far?
I think that out of all the ways you can gain points for a debate, I think she
as a sport.
Yeah, and all the ways, public opinion, whatever. Yeah, I think that she came out on top of that event. Like, it only helped her. It didn't help Trump.
Sure. It might have. I might be the one and only person who was watching that debate and was like, it might be good enough. But it wasn't swaying me away from voting for Kamala in any way. It was swaying me off of my couch to vote, or swaying me from doing a write-in vote. And I'm still not sure. I'm probably going to vote, but it's whether or not I'll vote for Trump or a write-in. Are you voting for Trump, Dave? Are you settled?
I'll tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not going to the polls to write anybody in, including Ron Paul. I just think that's...
I live in a small town, so going to the polls is not nearly as big of an ask for me. But yeah.
Yeah, but what... Like, we've already talked about, like, what do you really even get for voting for Trump or Kamala in certainly a swing state? But what the hell do you get by writing anybody's name in, even the great Ron Paul? Like, what? Who cares? I would stay home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would stay home and go, there's no one worth voting for. That's, and you have a platform, so you could literally say that. Don't vote today. It's not worth your time. Fuck that.
I also have a platform where I could, write in somebody, take a picture of it, and at least say, see, this is all stupid. I know it's a stupid libertarian mindset. It's a stupid, just anti-establishment mindset. But
okay.
Yes, sometimes that's satisfying enough for me. I don't know.
We are
again,
all looking for...
If my polls were in Delaware, I feel like it would be more of an ask for me to go to the polls, and I would probably opt to stay home if I was not voting for Donald Trump.
I mean, I can walk to my polling place. They know me there.
Yeah.
I don't even have to show ID. No big whoop. But yeah,
nobody does, Dave. Come on.
It's all good. It is your God-given right.
Racist.
Yeah. No, if I vote, I won't write somebody in. But we're all looking for a protest vote. We're all looking for a way to say fuck you. So if that's the way that you feel best saying fuck you, then yeah, write in somebody cool. Spike Cohen. Is it Spike Cohen?
No. I can't write in Spike Cohen or Dave Smith this year because they were both cowards and didn't run. If one of them ran and then bailed, or ran and then didn't get the nomination, I could see writing them in, but I'm not going to vote for a fucking coward like Spike Cohen or Dave Smith.
Good
now, there is these closing statements that we have left, and that will... Well, we're going to have to get Harry Sisson's take after it, but this is pretty much it.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country.
Not really.
One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
Racism, equality.
But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend
hopes too?
Just all of them. The whole thesaurus for this one.
An opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving...
She's saying nothing, but she's saying nothing in a way that will appease most general people who just walk in off the street and see this woman saying hope and change and Obama and remember things, but we're moving forward.
Lying to us while the idiot next to her doesn't know what to say. Okay, fine. Like, I'm a little bit upset with that, but you're just fucking lying to me. Oh, we care about your family. We care about your jobs, your small businesses. Fuck you, you lying C-word. Ugh.
Hardworking folks a break in bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together.
She believes
that is
in it.
about sustaining America's standing.
Also, this she did this throughout. I heard somebody point out, I don't remember who, but it's almost like she's going for a MLK moment, because she says, like, I trust that this and this and this and this. I trust that and that and that and that and that. I believe in this. It's always like, I have a dream that such and such. Like she's trying to sound wise because she's got this list. I know what I'm talking about, and because I have this list. She's going for something inspiring, but it just feels like complete and utter bullshit.
In the world and ensuring that we have the respect
And
that we so
vague
rightly
bullshit.
deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world.
Again, I'm sure there's a lot of Democrats, the old school anti-war Democrats, or even the new school ones like Hassan Piker, who was pissed off at the interview. I'm sure they love that this is another parroting the right, but not even, I don't know what to think anymore. She's not parroting Donald Trump's stance on war, but she's like, we need the most lethal, or maybe kind of, need the most lethal fighting force in the world. We need to be deadly, the deadliest. That's Dick Cheney talk right there. And I'm curious to see where this goes, where the formerly supposed anti-war party, like the party of the hippies, is now the Dick Cheney pro-neocons all around the most deadly fighting force in the world party. How do you square that circle? Will this be detrimental to them, or do they just go entirely like the mask is off? We are the war party now. That's it.
Well, I don't think that the military-industrial complex cares which party it is. In fact, they're very fluid, gender fluid with it. So I think this is still, as it always has been for 100 years, about being the lone superpower on the planet, and it's and our relationship with Russia and Russia's relationship with Germany and China. Like that's still what this is about. And this guy or this lady represents the people that want to continue to dominate and use subterfuge and blow up pipelines and ship chip factories or whatever else they're talking about in order to fuck these people out of doing business with other countries. But man, yeah, if that's what she represents, maybe he represents something a little bit better. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client.
Before that, though, were you an escort? I have to know.
We're gonna gloss over that part, Dave. It doesn't matter.
And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim.
There's also a lot of crossover, I would imagine, in the prosecution. Just saying.
Or a witness. Are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President.
Any thoughts on that, Dave, before we get to Trump's? Other than complete and utter vague bullshit. I love you. Please nestle yourself under my wing, children. I care about you and nobody else does.
Welcome to Walmart. I love you. Welcome to Walmart. Right. I love you. Yeah, stop telling me about love and joy and what my government can do for me. Mm-hmm. Stop. Oh, I hate it so much. I hate her so much and what she represents. And just the way that it's the opposite. It's not like she can't articulate a point she's trying to make. It's that she is well-rehearsed-ish.
Well-rehearsed to lie.
Well-rehearsed to lie about things that she has affected in the opposite way. Lady, you have affected my small business. I will never forget it. Fuck you forever. Yeah. And here I come, KAMALA, to save you and your small business, and you need some love right now.
Yeah, so it comes down to Donald Trump. I don't think he's completely honest. I think he's more honest. I think that and especially when they push the all Trump did was lie. We heard Jill Biden. Good job. You answered all the questions. I wonder if KAMALA got that from Doug after this. You answered all the questions. And what did Donald Trump do? Lie. That's the thing. It's like, so that sets them up for, if you say lie, then you're just parroting them and you're just a copycat. Meanwhile, she is lying out her ass this entire time, all the way down to very fine people bullshit. And now it's, I love you, and it's great, and I'm not a liar like him. It's a not a dumb strategy in the world of politics to just be like, whatever this guy says is a lie, and what I say is the truth, and this guy is weird. It's effective. It's retarded, but it is effective. And she has said, I feel like Donald Trump has said a lot of things that he doesn't know that much about, and Kamala Harris has said nothing except for bullshit. Like, she has lied the entire time. Donald Trump might not be that educated on the things that he's trying to talk about, but all she's doing is making shit up. So you decide. Liar or dumb guy who's less of a liar?
Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5.
This should have been like answer number one. Start there. Then she has to defend that or go up against that with every single answer that she gives, and every single time she says some dumb shit that is what is anything that she says at all about how the government is being run wrong, he could have thrown back in her face if he had made that point 2 hours ago.
3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like, we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things.
Bro, you couldn't even get the closing statement ready? Like, she believes in things that the American people don't like, these bad things, like, we're not going to do this. Like, it's not even presented in a way like he thought it through. It's like, we're not going to frack. That's not a thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Just say that she does not want America to be energy independent.
Right.
Say that. That's
easy,
easy,
she
bro.
doesn't want America to be great again. She doesn't want what we had under my administration. She doesn't want these things. She wants what we have now. Is it better? Like, he should bring it back to, is it better now or was it better under my administration? Yes, we had COVID, but COVID aside, is it better or worse now? And if we had COVID under their administration, do you think it would be better than when I had dealt with COVID? Or would we, like, I don't know. There's just a lot of ways that you could do this. And he's just like, she's bad. Everything she says is bad. She says fracking is bad, and that's bad.
Things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world.
That's the response to the question earlier that he forgot to
answer. As a
answer.
nation, we're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military.
Can you pause it?
Yeah.
Because of the tone of this whole debate, which was so obviously tilted, is, that's just being easy. But like, he does, and again, this is somebody, bro, all we talk about is we're on the verge of World War III.
Yeah.
But they didn't talk about that at all. That wasn't brought up at all. The moderators didn't bring that up at all. So in his closing statement,
Israel, they asked about Russia, but they asked it in like, what are you going to do about that over there? Not about the implications of that.
Right. Oh, and anytime they would talk about it, oh, do you want them to win? Don't you want them to win? They're not focusing on what is important, which is like not your conflict or your interests or who you want to win. It's like you're on the verge of World War III. In fact, dude, they talk about the border. Oh, the crisis on the border. It's like, wait a second. You just said that like, okay, so you're acknowledging there's a crisis on the border. Like, what do you want to happen?
Right.
What do you want to do about the crisis on the border? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and the World War III is even a whole lot bigger of a deal than that, but nobody brought it up. And here he is.
Well, Donald Trump brought it up like twice, but he brought it up like in passing on something about immigration. He was like, oh, in World War III, we'll get into that later. This is probably him being like, we didn't get into that. I didn't have a chance to make that point, and I'm going to shove it in here at the end. So it feels scattered. It feels like just a throwaway thought where he's like, oh, and also World War III. So to a normal person, they're just hearing, it sounds like fear-mongering. But there's a legitimate conversation to be had there. It sounds same with like they're eating dogs thing. It's like when you just throw it out there and don't have a chance to get into it, which isn't entirely his fault because the moderator should have brought it up. But when you just throw that shit out there without any explanation, it sounds like you're just fear-mongering.
A lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Good immigration, the end. That was it. That's it. I want to believe, Dave. I do. I want to believe.
Won? Who do you think won the debate now, though? Have you changed your mind, or are you still on the tip that he won?
Well, from the layperson's perspective, again, I would say the person who had the least things that I felt like were noteworthy probably won. Just from a sports standpoint, I know that when I was watching it, I was much more swayed by Trump, but that's because, again, Trump is saying things that are based on things that are legitimate things. He's just not getting any deeper than that. So when I hear those buzzwords about things that I know exist, I'm like, yeah, bro, get into that. He didn't. He didn't get into it. He just said it. And I think for a commoner who doesn't pay an unhealthy closeness to amount of focus on the news, he sounds like a crazy person sometimes, and she sounds like a dumb person sometimes. So it's actually the opposite. She's a crazy person. He's a dumb person. So I don't know.
No, you're pretty on with that, bro. And also say, like, the public at large, American voting populace at large, this is their event. If they're going to pay attention to politics, it's when you give us a debate, primetime, David Muir, ABC. If not that, they're not paying attention. So that's why I said that she won. But man, yeah, I hope that's not the deciding factor. I don't think that it will be, but yeah, if he could have just gotten in there and been a little bit more detailed. But luckily, bro, I don't know. The Libertarian Party did 40 of these debates. You know, Chase was the guy who could do the debate the best, said the most things, was the most well rehearsed, and look what you got.
Yep.
You know,
it's not always the deciding factor on who votes for you. It might be the deciding factor on who gets you the most points in the current sport, which is kind of what we're dealing with right now. But as far as support, it might, I don't know. I also don't think that there's anything that Kamala Harris said that's going to take any Trump supporter and convert them into a Kamala Harris supporter or even a stay-at-homer. I think that, if anything, a Trump supporter or somebody who's on the fence heard Kamala Harris rambling nonsense and was like, at least I'll consider it because we cannot have that. Because the nothing that she puts forward is so alarmingly, glaringly obvious that Donald Trump saying just nuggets of truth here and there is leaps and bounds ahead of what she is offering, which is a child tax credit is so far all I know that she definitely stands on. Also, abortion, but not all the abortion. I don't know. They're both, somewhere in the middle on that one. There's not clear lines because she's copying him and he's copying her. It's the most social media influenced election ever, to where TikTok and Taylor Swift giving her Kamala Harris endorsement, shocking, that is what's going to determine who gets the most votes. It has nothing to do with policy. It has nothing to do with who's more equipped to lead. I think that Donald Trump's certainly more equipped to lead and better on policy, but also he is going along with some of Kamala's narrative and she's going along with some of his, and they kind of make this this nice word salad melding pot in the middle that we're supposed to decide on. And yeah, if I had gun to my head, the gun would not go off. I would vote for Trump. Yes. If you're saying otherwise, you're lying. But yeah, it's politics, baby. It's cult shit. It's team sports, and they want me really badly on their team. It feels like the Democrats really want me badly on Trump's team. It seems like Trump really wants me badly on his team. I'm getting closer, and this was the closest that I've been so far, just because he gave me a couple nuggets of things that the bar was set so low from Biden, from former Trump, from former Kamala Harris. The bar was set so low on any nuggets of truth being dropped, and he dropped a couple nuggets of truth. So that got my attention.
I agree with you, and the only thing I disagree with is our view of the American public, because I think that and I hope you're right, by the way, because I think
I wasn't talking about them. I was talking about me. They're all going to.
Okay.
I think the general public is going to be swayed not at all by this for the most part.
Oh, okay. See, I think you're right. People have their hard camps, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if anything from this debate, if anybody is swayed, independents will be moved closer to Kamala Harris, not Trump, even though he was saying more truthful things. I think he came across more reckless and a little bit, just to them, a little too crazy or too brash. Whereas she seemed very professional and had, that's what I think will win the day. The professionalism and the dignity of the office,
I
not
don't want
substance.
Trump to do that, because he's not good at that either. Like, I want him to be brash, and she
I
can
do
be
too.
professional if she wants to. Hers feels fake. Him trying to be professional feels fake too.
Bro, what do you think the independent voter wants more? A brash guy or the professionalism? That's what I'm asking you.
I know.
I know you want him to be brash, and I do.
I'm not your common independent voter here.
Right. If there are the people
standards.
who are like, well, yeah, if there are people, those are the people who decide every time. The same people who voted for Obama voted for Trump, so they'll decide again. These people, the wiggle room will go, I don't know if we can go fully that far or that far, whatever. So I think after that debate, if anybody won over some of those people, she did it.
Yeah. Perhaps.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if at all. But we do have one more thing that we got to do. We got to get Harry Sisson's take on this, because as we know, that Harry Sisson is the best voice of reason when it comes to who won the debate versus Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And I don't think we're going to do an after party today, Dave. I think we're going to hold the Freak of the Weeks until next week. Sorry, y'all, but you've got pushing 2.5 hours on this, and we did, I would say, definitely the most thorough breakdown that I've seen on the internet. Other than the people who were like sitting there live fact checking it as it was happening. We're not that big of nerds, but we will give you the fun, the highlights, and we will do it. It will overstay our welcome. And then we will give you Harry Sisson. But because we're not doing Freak of the Week this week, moving it to next week, I think that this deserves the setup.
This program was made possible by viewers like you.
Get what you f***ing deserve!
Your days are belong to us.
No one can stop us from enjoying this, so enjoy it! Stop crying!
That's right. It's Freak of the Week, where we look at the freakiest people on the internet, and you can get more of this at patreon.com/The System Is Down, where we judge people based on their interactions with reality, mostly, and their physical presentation, and whatever you judge people on. This week we only have one submission, and it is Harry Sisson, the great Harry Sisson, with his take on this debate.
So the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump just concluded, and my immediate reaction is Kamala Harris wiped the floor with him. I think this picture perfectly sums up what took place tonight.
Then here's the difference. Like, he looks at that and calls that a win when she's smugly putting her hand under her chin, I would say that's probably what lost Hillary Clinton the election, was her smugness, because that's all that you can do against Donald Trump. You have to put on an air of confidence against the most confident man in the world. No matter how dumb he is the most confident man in the world. Even if he doesn't know what he's talking about, he will tell you to your face confidently that he doesn't know what he's talking about in so many words. And that's what he's doing there, and she is smugly putting her hand under her chin. Dave, do you think that this is all we need to see to know that Kamala Harris wiped the floor with Donald Trump?
I think the Harry Sisson is doing his primary function here, which is to give everybody who saw this, who is on this side, letting them know it's okay and that she's not a super bitch by putting her hand on her chin for 10 seconds like that. Then no, that's a sign that she's really kicking ass.
No, that's cool, y'all.
Yeah,
the
that's
kids
cool.
love
That's what
that shit.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Great job, dude.
Yep.
America, along with Kamala Harris, was laughing at Donald Trump. He was spiraling. He made no sense. He didn't lay out any policy, and he took the bait every single time. All he did was lie tonight. He lied about pets being eaten in Ohio.
For that to be the first thing you bring up. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who are saying it is happening. There are a lot of people saying that it isn't happening, and Donald Trump should have had more sources to cite if he was going to say that it was happening than the TV. But, we didn't even get into that. His response to when he was called out for they said that they weren't eating cats in Ohio, and he said the TV, which was a really bad one too. But for that to be the first thing that Harry Sisson brings up, whether or not it is true, it hasn't been fully, completely confirmed by the mainstream media. So from his perspective, still debatable, at least. But he's like, no, he lied about that because Kamala Harris said he lied about that. It just seems ballsy to be like, see, he lied about everything, including this one thing that I'm not entirely sure yet.
What? And on women's reproductive rights, he sounded more extreme than ever. He defended what happened on January 6th, and he still says he didn't lose the 2020 election. This guy is off his rocker. Kamala Harris perfectly prosecuted the case against Donald Trump tonight. I think we all saw that. And for any undecided American who watched that debate tonight, I don't think they're undecided anymore. I don't know how anybody from either side of the aisle could look at Donald Trump's performance and think that he's fit to serve. He is clearly not, and Kamala Harris clearly is. She needs to be the next president of the United
States. That's your stance, right, Dave?
No, I changed my mind. I feel like Donald Trump really
mopped the floor.
He really crushed it tonight. And MAGA, and this guy's a faggot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You keep bringing him back into my life. I would block this guy's account and not listen to anything he has to say. But no, he gets to do the job, like the cleanup job, because he won't get fact checked. Nobody's going to fact check Harry Sisson. He just gets to come out and go, "Oh my God, did you see the lies that he told?"
Let's fact check Harry Sisson real quick.
Okay, Springfield, Ohio resident here for 30 years. Okay, been here my entire life. And since we are trending right now all over social media and people are wanting answers from the residents, I figured I would chime in. Might be an unpopular opinion that people want to hear. Yes, we have a Haitian Creole immigration issue. In the last couple of years, they have dropped off 20 to 30,000 immigrants. The last year to 6 months has been insane. They are dropping them off by the busload. When I say busload, I mean the Greyhound busload full. They are taking them to the gas stations and dropping them off by the busload. But the big thing that I wanted to address, have I personally seen any videos or public reports of the Haitian Creole community stealing cats and dogs and eating them? No. The video that is going viral of the woman who killed and ate the cat is not from Springfield. Do I know for a fact, and have I seen with my own eyes, okay, a Haitian Creole immigrant killing ducks? Yes. They are killing ducks at our reservoir and at our parks. They are chopping their heads off and they are cooking them up. They are also gutting animals up at the reservoir and roasting them, goats, pigs, that kind of thing, which, obviously isn't illegal, but the way that they're doing it and leaving things is just ridiculous. They have completely trashed our reservoir. I mean, overloaded with trash. It's really sad. There's 20 to 30 tents out there that they are sleeping in. And again,
so I also have, videos of people talking about Haitians and voodoo and stuff, and that's their religion, and there's a lot of different things that you can get into. Oh, this might be the one. Let's get a little bit more.
Teenager, and I want to.
There's also arrest records that you can look up.
To the United States in the late
It's probably
60s,
not true.
As a teenager, and I want to talk about these recent comments about the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. First, I want to say my father and I are now estranged, but I did know him in my very, very young years, and when he immigrated, he was one person, and they weren't sending, thousands of Haitians in one area. He wasn't eating people's pets, and he didn't practice voodoo, but he did say that most of the island, the majority of the island, does practice voodoo. The reason they eat cats is for two reasons. Number one is survival. This is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. You can't just go to a food bank like you can here, or just go to McDonald's and get some free or cheap food. Unless, of course, there's a